Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Lore Gremlin Podcast. I'm your host, So Peachy, the Archivist Gremlin.
And I'm your host, MD, local Rex enthusiast.
And today we're going to cover Grestinfell and the characters, the world, all that jazz. So Grestinfell essentially is the third part of the multiverse. You know, we have Altera, Earth, and then there's Grestinfell. Grestinfell, compared to the other two worlds, is not as involved in the storyline of like the whole multiverse kind of situation. You know, we hear more about Altera and Earth from like one another, but then Grestinfell's kind of just there on the side, but it's still connected
Just
technically.
vibing.
So it's just doing its own thing. And it's
Mhm.
essentially like a D&D type world. So like all of the lore and logic follows D&D logic. Mind you, I know nothing about D&D other than
I
like
know next to nothing.
yeah.
Even though I'm
So
playing, I know very little. So
yeah.
we're
So we'll do our best to like explain stuff, but if you know more about D&D concepts when we ask questions, tell us in the comments below. So, first character, you want to go ahead?
sure. Okay, so we're gonna start with everybody's favorite boy, the Jolly Green Giant, Thresh. Yeah, no, Thresh. The first character from Grestinfell we meet. So he's like one of the like very first characters. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, His story is pretty simple, I guess, like kind of the first arc. He meets Tiny in a prison cell. You know, they escape and they kind of fall in love and become a couple over time. We learn that he was the heir to an orc clan. I forget where exactly on the map. I know it just says like what orc tribe, I think. I forget the area though in Grestinfell. But his father was killed in battle, and his uncle decided to take over the clan. Um, he kind of, I don't know if he made Thresh into a killer or just kind of, like Thresh kind of grew up and became an extremely capable killer, but then decided to leave that life behind because he didn't. He wanted to like do more. I think. It's like I
Yeah.
forget what exactly it was, but like he said, he didn't just want to kill things, right? He wanted to build it. Like that, he had this dream of becoming a
Blacksmith?
blacksmith. Yes, like he wants to
Yeah.
build things, right? He doesn't want to destroy and kill things. He wants more out of it, like to be, a positive.
Be part of society, do
Yeah,
something positive. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um, so, however, at some point, I think after their first date, he and Tiny's first date, um, Garrak, who will be later, finds him and says that his uncle wants him to come back to the clan for a feast. Um, uh, and it's revealed once they get there. Oh, by the way, like along the way, uh, Thresh proposes to Tiny. I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on the way there. It feels very fast, but like I don't know, it works for them.
I mean,
I mean they
there
did
was,
know
you know,
each other
some
for a long
time.
period of time. Yeah, they
Yeah.
did know each other for
I
a
mean, they
while.
escaped prison together. I feel like that
Yeah.
qualifies enough to be like, okay.
Yeah. They get there, there's feast, and it's revealed that the plan for the reasoning for bring the reason that he was brought back was his uncle's plan was to force him to rejoin the clan and be, the beheader. That was his name before, Thresh the Beheader. So he wanted his best killer back.
Mhm.
Um, and then Garrock reveals, I think during this like fight with the Thresh and Tiny are kind of knocked out, and they wake up in like this kind of arena, and they're
Yeah.
made to fight a werebear. And I forget what the deal is. Like I don't know if it's like, oh, we'll get rid of the werebear if you join us, or like you have to kill the werebear or something. I forget what it was. Um,
Yeah, I think it was like if you don't join us, the werebear. Well, actually, it was just like the bear will kill you, but then Thresh found out like, oh, it's not just a bear, it's a werebear. You just have this collar on him that's making him not be himself, whoever this werebear may be.
yeah. And then Garrock reveals, he comes in and reveals that the uncle killed Brutaka is his name.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, English. Brutaka killed Thresh's father in battle. And then Thresh I don't know if he like first kind of like not subdues, but like frees the werebear, and then he kills his uncle, or if yeah, he does,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because
Yeah, because he takes the collar off the werebear, which makes him normal again, and then and either Thresh or, like, Garrak just kinda tosses the uncle into the arena, is like,
yeah,
"Werebear, have fun," and,
and he like mauls him to death.
yes.
Fun times. And so then yeah, Thresh becomes the a head for like a second before he's like, nah, you can have it, Garrock.
Yeah.
So then yeah, Garrock becomes the official orc clan leader. Because Thrush wants to live a simple life with Tiny in their little
Yeah.
town. What town was it?
Tristan?
Cheston, yeah. So yeah, he just wants to live with his little human, be a blacksmith, like cottagecore life. Real cute. Um, and so then yeah, they go back to Tristan and they get married. It's very sweet. And literally like that night into the next day. Yeah, no, the next day, Thresh
Mhm.
goes to work at his apprenticeship, which he got real quick.
I mean, but
Well,
it's
I guess he
nice
must have,
that
yeah.
someone gave him a job because, like, it was a s I mean, like, in most towns, it's like, "Oh, yeah, like, orcs are, like, not cool," but, like, Treston's pretty chill compared to the other towns. Treston's like, "You know what? He's cool. He's not a bad orc." So they're like, "Yeah."
Thresh is aight. Um, and like all the orcs come in town to Garrock and the entire clan comes, I think, to help celebrate, and that
Yeah.
leads to Garrock having his own little spin-off. But
Mhm.
we'll cover that later. Um, and but like the next day, what Gavin I think is the guy's name.
Yeah.
Gavin.
Gavin, that's Tylock's right-hand man.
Oh yeah, so he's a not an assassin, but he's like a yeah right hand man. He first you hear it's kind of like interesting because Thresh first says, "Oh, it's weird that your family couldn't come, but I'm glad that we got to get married anyways." And then you hear this person Gavin say, "Oh, uh, I found whoever this is, and they seem to be married to an orc, and I'll bring them back to Tylock, or whatever." And you're like, "Who the heck is Tylock?"
Mhm.
Um, and then they once Garrock not Garrock Thresh leaves for his apprenticeship, uh, they kind of Gavin kind of ambushes Tiny and kidnaps them and says, "Oh, it's revealed that they're actually a noble." Uh, well, I should say they're kidnapped and they're taken to
Mhm.
Volkrat, and they meet with their former betrothed, Lord Tylock, and it's revealed that uh, Tiny is actually they're a noble. I don't know, like they're not like a big noble, but like they are no part of the nobility, and their father
Yeah.
made a deal with Tylock to give him their land and their child and
Yeah.
in
I
marriage.
mean, it was kind of like, either I take over the land or you let me marry your kid and take over it this way, so I can, like, kill a bunch of people, or we can do this quote unquote civilly, and I'm just like, Tylock, you need to not do that.
You know what that reminds me of, low key? Um, what is it? What's his name? Nomad's villain.
Oh, yeah. Oh my god, that totally
Because
is
don't
like
they do the same thing?
oh.
But like the dads are both terrible.
Yeah, god, these
Oh no.
listeners with terrible parents.
Dang. Always gotta be a bad parent. Like character building 101. So either dead
It's
or
either
just terrible.
yeah, exactly, I was gonna say it's either they're
Uh,
dead or they're bad.
if you really want a main character, they have to have at least either one dead or deadbeat parent.
Yep.
No two happy parents. No.
No.
Those are for
Impossible.
smaller characters only. Um, but yeah, so it became yeah, so Tylock wants to marry them and get their land, and it's part of this effort to conquer and unite the continent, I think, or at least the northern part of the continent, right? The northern
Yeah.
eastern part. I don't know what
North
directions are.
yes, northeastern. I'm looking at the map right now. I'm like, I don't know directions either.
The north or west? What? I know. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, so yeah, northeast at least, but
Mhm.
that's what he has at least right now. But the goal, I think, is try and at least get all of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, he just
Yeah.
power hungry, right?
Yeah. I mean, once he gets that, he's probably gonna go after the rest.
Mhm.
So, um, but yeah, so under the Inferno Empire, he's kind of inspired by um this former dictatorship that we don't really know a lot about, and we don't really
Mhm.
know why he wants to unite like everybody and like what it means because also magic in some places is accepted and other places is not, as we'll find out from other characters. So like, what's the end goal here,
Yeah.
Tylock? Like, what do you just like want power, or is there more? Do you like? I don't know. Um, but we don't really get a chance to learn all of it yet because
Yep.
at one point during they get married at like sunset, like well, not the next day, but at some point like during that week
Yeah.
uh, Thrush figures out that Tiny was taken, and either he uses his nose or Garrock uses his nose to literally sniff them out
Mhm.
and like find a path, like a hound dog,
Yeah.
going all the way to back to Volcarat, and not even back to Volcarat. They get married, but over
In
near
Tiny's
Tiny's
town,
lands,
right?
yeah, and
Like,
Tiny's
just on the
land,
cliff of, like, Tiny's town or something like
yeah,
that. Because it
that's
was something about, like, "Oh, you could look down at your home, and if you don't wanna
mhm.
be here, just go off the cliff."
Jump
And I'm like,
off.
"Oh,
I
thanks,
got it
dude."
anyway. It's so he's like either you can kind of, we can both have our fun or you can go die if you want. Whatever makes you happy. And I'm like, that's so oh gosh, you're such a creep.
Yeah.
People say like, oh Rex is terrible, Cersei's terrible. I'm like, at least they're, not creepy. Like, oh, I'm gonna
Dialogue.
like yeah, oh at least they're like, oh, I'm doing this for a reason. Like, I'm well, I guess Shylock has the same thing.
Well,
Like,
they respect boundaries,
yeah,
okay?
they
At least
respect
Rex
boundaries
hasn't
to a
done
certain
anything.
extent,
Okay, so Rex has, like, a lady chained to the moon. Okay, okay, I get
but
it.
he hasn't done
But
anything to
she doesn't.
her.
Yeah,
He gives her his
exactly,
face.
but okay.
Yeah, Tylock is
We're
like all
going.
up in Tiny's business. He's so gross. Ugh. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Um,
Just that little rant.
yeah, little creep. Um, anyway, so yeah, so they get there and they manage to stop the wedding. Thankfully, Tylock. Fight ensues, and Thresh kind of yeets Tylock over the side of a cliff, over the cliff
Mhm.
that, they were getting married on, and he's presumed dead. But as Peachy and other people have said, right? No body,
No
no
body,
proof.
no murder. Yeah.
Hmm. Uh, and yeah, Tiny and Thresh go home, and it's kind of slice of life moments after that, I
Yeah.
think.
Mhm. And then the most recent, like, in the I know it's a Patreon, like, preview, which technically isn't fully canon, but, like, I like to think it's partly canon. Either way,
And
I mean,
I didn't know that.
because it's, like, Patreon, but it's, like, a
Oh,
preview, so most of the lore bits in the beginning, I feel like are technically canon? I don't
yeah.
know. It's
Yeah,
all
there's a lot of
iffy.
Zeke ones, and I'm like, I was like, y'all are taking a lot of moments just
Mhm.
to chill. Like the circle's not after you.
Yeah. But, the most recent, like, Thresh Patreon preview, Thresh just was talking about how, like, oh, he might be able to go work, with his, like, job under, the kingdom of Zeranon? Zereno? I don't
Uh,
know, but
these
that
names,
leads
I
us
would choose better
into.
names for us to pronounce. Okay,
I
I
don't know
know they
which
look
one it
cool,
is.
but you gotta think about your audience, man. We might be college students, but we can't talk.
Yeah, no. Language, I don't know it. Um, but then that leads us into Cal's storyline. So if you don't know who Cal is, he is the night person. Night person? Yes. I'm good at English too.
So great.
He
You're doing amazing, sweetie.
he is our loving and devoted human knight of the kingdom of Duodon. Look, Siren. Why are these names? He
Guys,
has trouble
just
saying them
name
too.
it like
Remember that
York or
blooper reel?
something. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Do it like Just mix up some English names, okay? Like English town names.
I mean, they sound cool, but then, like, when I have to say it here, I'm, like, making a fool of myself. The Kingdom of Duodon, where we, the listener, are the heir to the throne. In that series, we kind of just follow the listener and Cal as they slowly, fall in love and but they can't be together because Cal is just a knight and is not a royal, and it is declared by the law that all royals must marry royals or some garbage like that. So,
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
I
I
used to
get
think
it.
Cal was a yandere for like a hot minute. Like I thought that was the arc that his story was going with. Just like in the beginning, because he was like just kind of staring. Like not even in the beginning. It was like I think during the like sleep aid and like something he
Um,
said in it. He was like, "I swear to you, I'll find a way for us to be together. Like, but no matter what it takes." I was like, that feels kind of fishy, but
mhm,
okay. But then he's a sweetheart. And
yeah,
also, I think I was like at that point there were not it was very early in
mhm.
career. A year and a half ago. Ew.
I know. It's been a while since we had anything Cal related. Like the most
Yeah.
recent thing being that like Patreon preview. But
Yeah.
so Cal, he and the listener are kind of like growing closer together with one another. They have that audio where they're basically sleeping together. I mean, but they're like being all secret. I'm like, y'all are not that good at hiding.
It's a
But
castle. What do you like? The walls are only so thin or
yeah.
so thick.
So
Words.
so then we have one audio where we have to meet a suitor of some kind, and we're just
Oh,
like, who could this be? And it ends up being Ren Flavis, who we had technically met at a bar previous. I think that was like the first audio, or was it the
that
second
was
where
the
we like
second.
second audio where we
Yeah.
ended up at a bar because we were got lost because of teleporting magic or something like that. So we meet, Ren Flavis again. And he brings his brother Titus Flavis, who
Titus.
is a tiefling. And at first we're like, okay, cool, but then the king is totally not cool with that. Um,
Mhm.
ends up saying like, "Oh, take Titus to the dungeon during your stay here." Like Ren's cool, but
So
your brother has to go
mean.
chill in the dungeon. And I'm like, "Excuse me.
Literally for
What?"
existing. Literally
Just
just
for
for
existing.
existing.
Mhm.
Titus is
I
so
mean,
great though. He's so cute.
and then it just gives us, like, some kind of, like, thing about, like, foul bloods and, like, a blood war, which is something to
Mhm.
do with D&D. I've done research it on several times, and I cannot retain any of the information from it.
I so it's supposed to be. He was like this. I looked it up forever ago, but it was like some kind of war. You know how like with Benny, right? We'll go over this a bit
Mhm.
later. Like there's like these portals were opened up by like magic, like wizards or I think
Yeah.
wizards, right, or sorcerers, and then
Mhm.
they brought like a bunch of these like oni demons up, and I think that's what like a tiefling I think is what they're born from like I don't know if it's like just like the relationship between like a demon and a human or like a demon and like a regular being. I don't really know. I know it's
Yeah.
something like that, but
So, anyway, he gets chucked in the he gets chucked in the dungeon, and, and then we have, like, Marius, who is our kind of, like I don't know, what do we call it? Like, butler type guy?
yeah, he's like a kind of like up there servant. He's nice. He's
Servant.
such a
Anyway,
sweetheart.
he's like he's our boy. He helps us out, and he's like, "Oh, I'll
Hmm.
I'll distract
Ride or
this."
die.
Yeah, he
Besides,
really is.
besides Cal.
Yeah. So like he helps us out from getting away from Ren, and we end up going to Titus, and we're like, "Yo, I don't want to be with this dude," and he's like, "Yeah, I don't like my brother either. So how about I tell you I got some dirt on him that will stop him from being a suitor for you." And we're like, "Cool." So then we learn that he's had a gambling problem and owes a lot of people money, so he's no longer a suitable suitor, and we say goodbye to Ren. So basically, the king's like, "Yeah, no, we don't want you anymore." So that gets him out of the way. That gets Ren out of the way. But then next audio, basically, it's like the king is like, "I knew you were with my, child, and basically Cal then gets thrown in a dungeon,
How
and
did
then
he
we're like,
know?
"Ugh, God." I don't even know how he knew. I mean, I guess maybe he just had suspicions. Oh, yeah, he was, like, talking to, like, the guard, and he was like, "Yeah, Cal's not showing up for practice or something," or I don't know. It was something like that.
Ugh, ridiculous.
But either way, he found out, and so, we end up going to Titus for some help because Marius is like, "Yo, I know a person who could help you." And we're like, "Who is it?" It's like, "It's Titus." And we're like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah,
Y'all
that's my
know
boy."
Titus? Y'all know each other? Like, very
And it's
well.
funny because like, previously, Marius was like, "Oh, yeah, I met someone from that kingdom that I really like, so I'll help you out." And then we find out it was Titus, and I'm like,
I was hoping it
"Oh."
wasn't Titus because I think someone or you or like a bunch of other people were saying maybe it's Titus, and I was like, no, I want Titus. No, leave him be. I want him to be a romanceable character. Stop it.
I mean,
And then
I
it
get
turns
it.
out
I get it.
no.
He's so sassy and fun. Like, you'd want him to be a, character that you could have a storyline with. But also I was like, "Oh, that's so cute though."
You're adorable.
Like Titus that also this just makes me want a series where we get to see how they met and like what they talked about. Cause like I know they met like in the dungeon, right? But I just want to know the details, you know? So anyway, Titus is basically ends up being our wingman and basically gets Cal to be the heir to the throne because of some I don't even know how he ended up doing this. I completely forget, but, like, it was something to do with, like, oh, he was within our region where he was born, and so technically he can become the heir through
Didn't his
s
family have to give up their
I mean,
I feel like
his
his
fam
family's not noble anymore.
well, I mean, 'cause Ren messed up for them, basically,
Yeah. So like
so
they're not
they
royal
had they
anymore.
had to find a replacement, and so Titus was like, "I got this," and then basically made Cal the replacement heir to,
Mhm.
um, Serena or
Yeah,
Xeranon,
because he can't
whatever
do
it's
it,
called.
and Rin
Yeah.
obviously is out of the like how they never let a tiefling do it,
No,
but
of course not.
this kid,
Um, and so now he's eligible to get married to the listener. So that seems like the path that that storyline is going. We haven't gotten any more from that storyline really, which is like really sad. But yeah, it seems like the plan is for them to get married. So
I think that was the first time we had like a real like an actual like magic listener, because like
yeah,
magic
that
had
that
been
was
like
the thing.
used, but like it was the first time it was like it was kind of like in like Altera, at least from like we didn't really know a lot about Altera then, by right?
Mm,
Or like we knew like magic in these worlds had kind of been like I think like the most we ever known about like moon bells and like the
huh.
existence of these beings, right? Like dragons and
Yeah.
tieflings and orcs and all that, but like no actual magic had been used. I don't
Hmm.
think. But then like Cal and his listener, and you see like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, magic is like not really allowed in their kingdom, except for them. Like they're learning, but like they can't
I
find
have so many
someone to
questions
teach
about
them
that.
because all of the sorcerers and witch and wizards and whoever else are all gone.
Yeah.
Because like magic was just like not accepted for a long time. Like
I mean,
it's
because the sorcerers messed it all up with the blood war or something. I don't know. We can go into that in theories, but like I have so many questions about the listener, how the heck they got their powers, all that jazz, because those are still questions we don't have answers to. But
yes, very exciting to talk about. Next is Aster. So in so he's a librarian or like archivist at the Jaded Temple Archives in Greska. He's a lizard folk, by the way.
Mhm.
He when he's like working or studying, and he's asked by a guard to do a favor for like Governess Tylock,
Mhm.
who we think is Tylock's mom. We're
Alex's
like pretty
mom.
sure it's Tylock's mom.
Yeah.
Uh, so they're not like they said that like it's someone they have like a prisoner, but like they found someone kind of just wandering around who claims to not be from this world
Yeah.
and is trying to get their way back. And so they want him to talk to them and learn
Yeah.
what they
Like
can.
assess the situation, you know?
Yeah. So he reluctantly agrees and he meets with the listener And after kind of going back and forth with them and learning their story, he's curious. He gets more curious about world hopping, basically.
Mhm.
And like they did it, they weren't trying to. It's kind of like they just fell through a hole,
Yeah.
basically. And so he was like, "Oh, that's like a tear in the rift." He had like heard something about it,
Mhm.
and but at some point, I think the guard was like, you'll be happy to know that we found someone else that's more willing to do it." And he's like, "That person, they're stupid, and I actually like this listener now, so I'm
Mhm.
gonna make up." It wasn't it was like a half excuse because they actually were looking. The sickner, the listener was looking a bit sickly,
Yeah.
uh, because of going through this rift. So
Mhm.
it's something he said. "Oh, you're experiencing astral sickness." Um, So he was like, "Oh, let me take them to get them healed up and feeling better, and I'll do it. I'll learn what I can, I guess." Or like, I guess at that point they kind of just gave up and let him learn and hang out with them.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he was getting the information they needed, so
yeah,
'cause initially Aster was just like, "I don't wanna do this." So then they tried to find someone else, and then he's like, "Nope, I'm invested now. Goodbye. I'll take care of it."
you got me to care now.
Yeah.
Um, but so he helps them, make sure they feel better. He tells them a bit more about where they are and how like important Greska is, in
Mhm.
like terms of knowledge. Like it's like a pillar of knowledge.
Yeah.
Um, and he teaches them more about like, oh, there's these tears in this kind of in this, I don't know if he knows about the veil or if he just knows like, oh, there's these kind of rifts in like,
Like, rifts in the world. Like, he calls them, like, half-baked portals.
yeah, and that kind of just randomly show up and then will
Mhm.
close as soon as they open. But
Yeah.
people had been kind of disappearing from around the area or like other towns around them
Mhm.
in the similar fashion as the listener. But I think that was negated.
Yeah, because it's just not so common, so it probably isn't a thing. Because the whole rift situation is a very interesting concept that I think Siren could go into more. Like, I know it doesn't have to be common, but, like, it could still be, like, a thing that could be used to their
Yeah.
advantage. Not that I'm trying to help the circle, but I'm just saying.
No, but, like, that's the one thing about, like, Aster is a commissioned character, so the lore
Mhm.
for his is always a little fishy.
Yeah.
So you're wondering, like, oh, how often the rifts are happening all of that, right? That's very up in the air with,
Mhm.
like, canon stuff.
Yeah.
So,
It's, like, loosely canon is what
yeah,
Siren has labeled it. So it's
mhm,
technically kind of canon, but it's not everything is, like, full, concrete
yeah.
canon.
But it's an interesting thing to think about, like, oh, these
Yeah.
random like, how is the veil compromised and,
Mhm.
like, how to deal with that? 'Cause
Is it intentional? Now that I think about
mhm.
it, is it, like, maybe, like, Divis just kind of, like
I'm gonna
just
pass
poking
this
a hole in
level.
reality, and he's just like, "Hmm, I think this person should go here now." Um,
Change your
or is
mind.
it really just random, you know?
Yeah. I think at one point, like, it was really early. I asked, I was like, oh, maybe if, like, the circle's doing the ritual and they get it wrong, that's what's the
Mhm.
cause of the rifts because they're so rare. Like, they're not sending
Yeah.
people left and right. But, you know, that made sense the other time. But, like, then we found out, oh, no, they're just kind of happening
Yeah.
random, apropos of any real circumstance.
Mhm.
But hopefully we'll find out more about them and Aster
Yeah.
because he's a great grumpy boy and we love
I
him.
know. It's sad because Siren was like, "Oh, yeah, Aster is technically, like, his least favorite character to do."
His
Um,
voice is very funny.
yeah, but, I mean, he's such a good he's literally in my top 5 characters. He's just so
Mhm.
interesting, and he's smart, and
Yeah,
ah.
and it's he cares a lot, and, like, he's
Yeah.
like, has to be very guarded about it, but he's a real softie.
Mhm.
Yeah, we love Aster in this house.
Yes. We're Aster simps here, okay? And we're not afraid to say it. Okay. So, next character we have up is Blythe, who is now one of my top favorite characters as well. Mainly okay, there's 2 reasons I really like Blythe. One, he's just a very charming character, and 2, he gave us so much dang lore in one he's only had 1 audio, but he has given us so much in just 1 audio. So so Blythe is basically a half-elf? I can't English. Is a half-elf, which means he's half human and half elf. Human on his dad's side and elf on his mom's side. And he runs the Dark Duchess Tavern in the lower ring of Duodon. So he basically teaches us about like Duodon and how it's set up into like different sectors. Like the lower ring is like, not as well to do, and then there's like the higher ring where his mother apparently is, because she's a high elf. And basically he just was born because his mom had a fling with his dad, and she was like, "I don't want the baby, so here you go." Which it just fucking sucks, but
Told you, main character moment, either deadbeat or dead parent.
yep. Exactly, right? Um, but so, we basically learned about his backstory and how he came to like own the tavern because it was his dad's previously who has seemingly passed away. Um
Oh,
And so he now runs the Dark Duchess Tavern, and he even gives us a nickname. Like, he's literally in story was like, I give everybody a nickname, so I'm gonna call you Lovely. And I'm like, wow, you've made my life as a gremlin so much easier. Like, but yeah. So that's like the gist of what we know about him because we've literally only had 1 audio so far. We've had, a
mhm.
Patreon preview, but that didn't tell us much more about the lore. So I hope we get more of him though.
I listened to his video like a few times, and I still could not like. I'm so glad you like talked about him because I could not remember for the life of me like half of the things he said. More than half the things he said in it. I think I was probably just looking at the art the entire time, just like
I mean, okay, literally look at the art. Look at the art. It's beautiful, okay?
he's very beautiful. I mean, he's
I mean,
half elf, so he has to
he's
be.
I know he's got the
Uh,
hair. He's strong. Cuz
yeah,
like
I'm
usually when you
so
think
jealous
about
of
it,
all these people's hair. Like they got the nice braids, the side.
yeah,
I can
I
never
know.
get my hair to cooperate.
But
That's
yeah,
sad.
he's I remember when cuz we actually got the art in the Discord, like a sneak peek of the art previous to like the audio, and we were
Hmm.
all like, "Who is this?" And I'm like, "I feel like he's a half elf because I feel like elves are usually very slender, but he's like, he's built,
Big boy. He's
Y-
thick with three C's.
Yep. So I was like, "Yeah, I feel like he's a half elf." And then when we got the audio, he's like, "Hi, I'm a half elf." And I'm like, "Yes, I was right."
What? Okay.
Oh. But yeah, one top character for Grestin, and he only has 1 audio. Uh,
Prize.
but yeah, that's the gist of, his whole thing. But I think he's a really interesting character, so I hope we get to see more of him.
Yeah. We'll learn more about the town too. So, I mean, I
Mhm.
feel like if we learned like different, like the whole like issue, kind of like well, I don't know how to say this without being, but like you know how like in all the other audios, like different towns have different issues, like and not even just
Yeah.
like different worlds, but like uh, Sapphire City has its issues, West
Mhm.
Haven has its own issues, and like they kind of overlap, but not always.
Yeah.
And like the same applies for like the rest of the multiverse stuff.
Mhm.
So I think it's interesting to just kind of get that in Grestinfell too, especially since it's not as involved in the chaos of like also overlapping with multiverse problems,
Yeah.
right? So and it's nice to see the individual like stuff going on. I feel
Yeah,
like that's like
just learning
that's
more
pretty
about the
basic
world.
for yeah. I feel like that's pretty like that's a basic plot thing, but I'm not a creative. Okay, I like this stuff.
I'm a simple woman
Yeah.
with
I
simple
see
needs.
lore. Yes, lore and pretty men. Ugh,
Yeah,
what more
that's
do I
all we
need?
need. Exactly. Ah.
Uh,
Speaking of pretty men, the
oh,
next character we have up.
such a pretty boy. Also, thick with three C's, four
Yep.
C's almost. Um, need help. Um, it's everyone's favorite D&D author.
Yes.
He really should be like one of those sappy, romance novels. I feel
I'm waiting for the day he gets to be,
like he
the
writes that
author
version
he
of
truly
Tough
wants to
Love.
be. Mhm. Oh my
If you know the reference, I barely know the reference.
god.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, Benny, everyone's favorite Oni. Um, he's, he's so great. I think genuinely, like if I had to do like a real self insert, I would do it probably for Benny because
Mhm.
he's so great. He reminds me like of I don't know, like I always see that scene in Notting Hill of like Hugh
Mhm.
Grant and Julia Roberts sitting on that bench, right?
Yeah.
But it's like him and Lucky.
Aw.
So great. I love it. Anyway, okay, back to lore. Uh, so I think Benny kind of just happens upon his listener in the Badlands, or like
Yeah.
Blood Mist Badlands, which is a kind of I think ever since the Blood Wars, right?
Mhm.
There's like this sectioned off part of the
Yeah. It's, like,
land.
literally walled off.
Yeah. From what Bimbar, I think.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's where it is.
That's the border
Those 2.
city to the Badlands. Um
Mhm.
and so the Badlands are where like all of these beings are kind of they were literally like that's like I think where they popped up and where they've stayed. And
Yeah.
so the area is basically evacuated of I think all human life basically. Or they
Yeah.
were killed by the beings that popped up there.
Probably
Um
both.
Probably, yeah, both. Um, so yeah, so it's just a kind of wasteland now where
Mhm.
Onis and whatever the being displacer beast and other I'm sure monsters that we don't know about
Yeah.
kind of live there. Uh, and so any kinds of kind of just happens upon this listener, and he says, "Oh, you're very lucky that something hasn't found you yet," and that kind of becomes their nickname or their pet name, Lucky. Uh,
Mhm.
so he doesn't drag them, but he's like, "Come with me if you want to live, or waste away out here. I don't care."
Yeah.
And like he kind of brings them with him. He heals them up with moon bells, uh, and he kind of shelters them from the horrors that are around them.
Mhm.
And I think the biggest point of not contention, but like the biggest thing, and mostly Benny's story is like a bit of slice of life so far. Like, oh, you kind of just get to know him better, and you start to fall for him, and that we just finally got a confession out of
I
him.
know, that was
It's
so,
so great.
so wholesome
Oh,
because, he has such a way with words, like, I
he's
mean
so great. Yeah, y'all should know Benny is like the real romantic. Like
mhm.
he loves his romance novels, and he taught himself how to read, right?
Yeah, like,
Yeah, he's so
because
well
he didn't
spoken.
have
Like
any he had all these books just like because like, he lives in a house that was, like, left over from,
yeah, this
you know, the town, so he ended up finding books in there and teaching himself how to read because previously he only knew, what's his language?
I
Is
don't know
it
whatever Oni speak. I don't
it
know.
has a word.
I
I'm
don't.
trying to think of what it is.
Sorry, Siren.
I know you've
We're
worked so hard. We are dedicated, I
yeah,
promise. It's
we're
just
okay. Also, yeah, disclaimer, y'all. We both were sick very recently,
yeah,
so
we're both
like
recovering still, so
we're like here, but it's a journey.
Mhm.
So bear with us with the spacing out and just
Mhm.
but yeah, no, I forget the name, but he's starting to teach. I was gonna say Tiny. He's starting to teach Lucky. It's really cute. Um, and when he takes him to the springs, which I don't know how the springs have managed to last that long. I forget. He says something like there's a reason, but I forget what it is.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, the biggest thing is besides just kind of learning more about each other, falling in love. living together and kind of just making the literal hell they're in better, with each other's presence. Uh, there's a displacer beast that attacked Benny, who's like kind of been circling his territory for
Yeah.
a while, and it's kind of not shown up. I feel like in the last few episodes,
Mhm.
not that it's not shown up, but it hasn't like
Been
it's not a big
mentioned.
part of it. Yeah, it hasn't really been
Yeah.
mentioned. Um, but it has like this Sylvan mark on it that Benny can't really place, and he's trying to figure out what it means and like what it could be, and
Mhm.
we're not really sure why. Why it's targeting them now, and we feel like, oh, what with Lucky's presence, we felt like it wasn't such a coincidence, especially because of the reason why they were sent to the Badlands. So the only reason you can really go to the Badlands is if you're exiled for doing something terrible, and Lucky was sent there because of by a scorned suitor
Yeah.
who lied and said they did something so horrible. We don't really know what, but they
Yeah.
said that they just did something so horrible that it got them,
Either way,
banished,
someone
basically
was
left to
petty
die.
because they didn't get a yes from 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 Lucky. So,
Very
they
petty.
were like, "Hey, this person did this. They didn't say yes
Horrible.
to me."
Hmm. Ugh, but
It's
well,
terrible.
hopefully we find out what that mark is. Soon.
Abyssal, it's abyssal. Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
I was just reading through, like, the summaries, and I was like, "It has to say it somewhere here." But yeah, it's he
We
speaks
got
abyssal,
there.
and he's teaching us, yeah. And throughout the series, he's reading, this book called Curses and Courtiers. Um,
I couldn't tell you. Uh,
but it's a cute apparently the story follows, like it's kinda Beauty and the Beast style, where there's this ogre and then a human, I guess, and then Benny's like, "Wow, Lucky
it's
really
like
looks like this
us.
person in the book," and I'm just like or, like, sounds like this person in the book,
No, I
and
think
I'm
it's like they
just
look like him too, and I'm like, ooh, do
uh-huh.
not. At first, I think I'm like, ooh, that could that spells trouble because oh, you're just like this character. It's like I'm nothing like this character. Don't, no, no. But no, they're great. I think
Yeah.
it's nice. He's living out his not his fairy tale, but like he's getting that storybook romance. Like he
I
deserves
know.
to be romanced.
Yeah, it's so
Shag,
cute.
he's great. Yes. But yeah, that's Benny,
Yeah,
best boy, or one of
he's
the best boys.
he's so good, yeah. He's just so sweet, you know? That's the thing.
Hmm. Oh my gosh, I hope nothing happens to Lucky because I don't want to see that reaction.
You know, Benny going, like,
Just
crazy
losing
and,
it.
like,
Yeah.
oh god.
Like at the
See,
same time, I do because I
part of me
love the
wants to see it,
story.
though.
Yeah, like it'd be cool, but also scary.
I
It's like, oh
know.
yeah, don't ever get the nice person upset. It's that
Yeah, because they will destroy
they will
everything.
murder everyone and
Yeah.
then themselves.
Oh god.
No, no,
Oh,
no. We don't want that. We're not putting that out there in the
nope,
universe.
nope.
Don't you dare take this as writing inspiration, Siren. But yeah, that's Benny.
Yeah. And then next up, we have Garrak? Garrak? You know, I
Garrick,
should really,
Garrick.
really listen again to audios to be able to pronounce names
Me
correctly, but
too.
why would I do that?
I
Why
know,
would
like
I
I always think
actually
like the day before, I'm like, I know these characters well enough, and then you sit here and you're like,
I have
what
to
are names?
pronounce things?
Yeah, you're like, I don't know this as well as I
Yeah.
thought I did.
His first audio, we basically it's at Thresh and Tiny's wedding, or it's like their post-wedding party. What's that called? I don't
The
know.
reception.
Reception. There we go. I don't go outside.
Me
So it's the
neither, but
reception. Uh, but yeah, so it's the reception, you know, he's getting crunk. He's drinking. He's having a good
yeah,
time. And then he
Oh,
sees,
cute.
he sees this person who's working at the tavern, serving the drinks. He ends up calling them Pidge because that's his nickname for like human people, I guess. So he calls him Pidge, and he's like, "Hey, you want to hang out with me?" This like
Literally, like,
so drunk, and he's
can I
just
buy
like,
him to just go hang out with me? It's
"Yeah,
so weird.
literally, I'll pay you to hang out with me." And I'm like, "Are you okay?"
I don't know. He wants a human friend. He saw what Thresh and Tiny have. He's like, you know what? I need that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get me one of them. I'm gonna get me one of
Get me one of
them.
them. So
Like
basically, Garrick is like,
he
"Hey, do you know
tells.
anywhere that's a place where I can just go take a swim?" And then, Pidge is like, "Oh yeah, there's like a lake nearby." Basically then says, "I will pay for everything tonight just for you to hang out with me and take me to the lake." So they go to the lake, and then I guess the drinks really got to him, and he starts
Are they
telling them like,
pissed?
"I am so stressed about being an orc chief now." He basically unloads
Every
on them.
Yeah, every listener becomes a therapist at some point.
I
It's
know.
really like they
That's our
bear like
job.
and only like when they're in the beginning when they're strangers.
Yeah.
Like that's when like the real just you know
Everything is unloaded.
gut spilling happens. When they're
Mhm.
together and like you would think, oh yeah, we're closer, we'd be able to share things. No, that's when you see like Zeke doesn't talk about stuff. I'm just happy to be with you and I really cherish you. It's like, how are you
Yeah.
feeling though? Like you spilled your guts about your dad like 2 days after
Day
you
1.
yeah,
Yeah, but
the
now
day
you don't
you
wanna talk
decided to
about
become
anything.
friends. And it's that pattern applies to I think everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. So, he unloads and he's basically talking about how it's a lot of work for him to now suddenly become chief. And, of course, the listener, is like, "Hey, it's okay. They're there."
Pats on the
And then they
shoulder awkwardly.
then they make out. Like, that's it. That's literally how it
Like,
goes.
it's so strange. It's like you feel like that's like something like people do in their like 20s. And I
Mhm.
feel like for some reason Thresh and them they're like almost 30.
Yeah. But no, no. I mean, they're young at heart.
Yeah,
Oh.
they're he needs this. He needs to feel young.
Yeah. So then in, his second audio, it's the day after, they've had their night at the lake. And they go back to the tavern. Um, they're talking. Garrick says how what kind of plans he has for the tribe, how he wants to kind of like make it grow and be more like a town instead of just a camp so that they can kind of like create a more positive image for orcs. And I'm like, wow, Garrick, you're really progressive.
I want to
Like,
put down
really.
roots.
Yeah. He's like, I want to change the image of orcs, and create a town that we can invite people in. And I'm like, wow, look at you
Think he's
being in
good.
charge.
Mhm. You love to
um,
see it.
yeah. And then and then after I don't know what leads them to talking about how Pidge has like to pay off a debt, and Garrick's like, "Yeah, I'll take care of it." And that's it. That's literally it. That's the end of that discussion. And I'm just
I'll
like,
pay
"What?"
everything.
I'm just like, "What was that debt to pay? Like, why did we have a debt? Is that really the end of it?" So I don't know. I'm still sus about that, but
Yeah, it
apparently
was
we're
something with the
okay.
bar, like with the bar owner, right? Like the
Yeah, but why is my question, and how was it dealt with so easily? I don't know.
we don't have like a lot of. I feel like we have we at first we have like a lot of the Grestinfell lore is a lot of
Mhm.
Thresh, right? So
Yeah,
like
because
oh
he had the
if
longest series as
yeah
well, and he's very popular, so everyone likes him,
yeah.
so more audios get made for him,
hmm
um,
But like I was like
and
thinking
everyone
about
else
it.
not so.
Yeah, there's not like a whole lot of like actual Grestinfell lore because like it's different than like multiverse lore. Right? It's not really part of that. So if in order to
Yeah.
keep that story going, you're gonna have a lot of Altera and West Haven and stuff.
Mhm.
But like Grestinfell stuff is like there's, like, a lot of it, but, like, it's a little bit of each character, right? Or, like,
Yeah.
some of the earlier characters have, like, really long series. So, I'm
Mhm.
looking forward to, like, seeing more from, newer
Grestinfell.
characters and yeah. And also seeing how some of them overlap because they're going to at some point.
Yeah, I mean, they have to.
They gotta.
Um, and so now we have our last character.
The I think what he has what, 1 audio, 1 official audio, and 1 Patreon preview.
Yep.
Goliath, the one we know least about. He's like canon, but like barely there, y'all. Like I think his listener escaped from Volcra too. I don't know if it's at the same time as Tiny and Thresh or what, but they
Yeah.
somehow ran into him. And I don't remember. They have a name, right? I feel like they have a name, or maybe they don't. And it's
I mean,
something
their nickname
small.
was Speck.
No Tiny, no Pidge. Pidge, Tiny, Speck. That's the
Speck.
that's the height difference.
Yep. You can make a chart of that.
You're like dust to me. Like I can't even see you.
Mhm.
But yeah, so yes, Speck and Goliath, and what Goliath helps them out, like heals them up, I think, and like that's it. Like they live together.
Yeah. Like
I that audio, it was really early too, I think, in Siren's like audio stuff.
mhm.
So there's not like lore really there that I can remember. I haven't
Yeah.
listened to it recently. I just know they met and he healed them up, and he was kind of like gruff about it, but nice.
Yeah, and basically at the end of that audio, he's like, "I mean, I guess you could stay here," and then they kiss. Like,
They do? Oh
yeah.
yeah. He's like, how do you retain yourself? Like, right? Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, they're like a thing, but it's
It's
weird.
not
And
big
then you get
lore
a
stuff.
yeah, and then you get a Patreon preview where it's like, okay,
Yeah,
it's
but we actually learn a lot more about
about him.
Goliaths in the Patreon audio, which I think is hilarious. Like, literally in the Patreon preview, we learned about Goliaths
Yeah.
are half giants and that
Mhm.
they live in the northern region. Like, we actually learned about his people, I guess. And then
Mhm.
we also learn his name in the Patreon.
Oh my gosh,
Is
we
it
do? I don't
I
remember it.
it's Drakith? Drake?
Drake?
It's not Drake. I think it's Drakith. Draketh?
Oh,
Bruh, I don't
I'd
know.
you could have said anything and I would have believed you. I I don't know. He's
But
not even
anyway,
in the lore document. He's not even in the audio summaries document. That's how much we don't know about this man. I honestly think maybe I put him under. No, he's under. Oh, it's Drakith. So he's under a different.
Drakith.
He's Goliath. That's why. And then
Yeah,
it's Drakith.
Drakith.
I think that's how you say it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there's a whole like summary.
Yeah. That's what I was looking at.
So okay, yeah. So I guess if you want a little more. So apparently they were rescued from the Inferno. Oh, from Tylak's people, Inferno Royal Guard.
Yeah, because they were
Um,
running away from, guards because they escaped.
yeah. So Tylak's people. So I mean, he probably kidnapped them for whatever. Um, he's sick man. So who knows? Who could say? Maybe they looked at him wrong. Uh,
It's so little. Like, I feel like, ah, we need more Grestinfell
it's a
Siren.
speck.
It's just the lore of Grestinfell is but a speck.
I was talking about Goliath. His lore is a speck.
No, it
Oh, I'm so
literally is though.
stupid. Oh gosh, I'm so. That's we need a counter of like how many stupid jokes.
Oh god, that would fill up the screen by the end of it.
Y'all tell us at
Oh.
the end if you like if it's too much.
Mm. In the comments below, do a counter for us. Tell us how many times we made stupid jokes.
Tell us if we need to stop. It should be like in the bottom, like the counter too much.
Not too
Y'all need
much.
to chill.
Uh,
We won't. Just letting you
yeah,
know.
just yeah.
Um,
But you can tell us. We just won't listen to that, but
yeah, just no with the heart.
So that was pretty much the like character breakdown of like our main characters and kind of their stories. So
Mhm.
now we go on to the theories portion of the episode, aka where
Mhm.
we just gremlin and talk way too much.
Time to let loose.
Yeah.
Woo!
So this time we were a little bit different and we actually
Mhm.
asked a few gremlins what theories or questions they had about Grestinfell. Um, and we also did
Switched it
this
up
for
a bit.
Half-Bloods, but we'll do that in another episode someday in the future because we can only do so much.
I mean, you want us to be slightly not hinged, not
Yeah,
unhinged.
not
You want
hinged.
us to be hinged, not unhinged for episode 6. So,
Ugh, yeah.
uh,
So, one of the questions, so we got three questions from Molly Ollie '08. Their first question was who or what lives in the caves by the Charred Vale and in the Boreal Mountains. So from
where is
Goliath's
that?
story, that's in the
I need to
looking
pull up
for
the
the
map.
map.
Wait a second.
Charred.
Well, we don't
Oh,
know.
that's in the northeastern region.
This is the most updated map, right?
I mean, Grestinfell only has one map.
Oh, it does? Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, northeast eastern region of the Grestinfell map. So we don't really know much about either of those locations. We have guessed that Goliath lives in the Boreal Mountains because it's close to, Volcarot, where the listener had escaped, and it's a mountainous area, and he said he lived in the mountains. So conclusion is he probably lives up there, and maybe other giants do too. As for the other location, we have literally no clue as to what's there, but I'd like to know because it's literally off on its own in that map, and I'm just like, what is that place?
What
I need to know
secrets
your
do you
secrets.
hold?
Okay, next question. Yeah, so then the next question Molly Ollie had was, why is there a question mark next to the small castle north of Castell Lake or south of Terrebonne? And for that one, we also don't know anything. There are like a lot of locations within Grestinfell's map that are unknown to us because, like we said, Grestinfell doesn't get a lot of like lore focus, which is really sad. It's like top corner by the mountains. It's really small, but like I think Siren put those locations in
Mm,
like he was thinking probably about making those locations for stories, but probably never did. Grestinfell might get like a map update someday, who knows, because Altera ended up getting a map update.
mhm.
So things might change. Um but yeah, we don't really know that much about a lot of like mystery locations with like question marks. We kind of discovered a lot of stuff with the Altera map more so because that one again way more focused. But for Grestinfell, sadly, when it comes to locations, we really don't know a whole lot.
Uh,
And then their last question was, will the wall by the Blood Mist Badlands ever be taken down? Which is a really good question because
mm,
I would like to see Benny own a bookstore somewhere in
yes.
Treston or something, you know? Benny
Become the
deserves to
number
live a
one
normal life.
romance author in the
Yes.
area.
You know?
It goes on a whole book tour across Grestinfell.
Yes, that's what we all need, that's what we all want.
Mhm. Siren, make it
Um,
happen.
but I don't know if the wall will ever be taken down because we don't actually know.
Mhm.
It just seems like it's a really dangerous area, so I don't know
Yeah,
how that area could be fixed so as the wall could be taken down.
yeah. He's like the one good, like,
Person.
being that we know of there, right? Everything else he says, "Oh yeah, I am, I am not like my brethren and all of that."
Yeah.
Everyone else is kind of like really given into like embraced their evil.
Yes.
He's like, let's be good, or like, just kind of live a simple life.
Yeah.
He's he's
But
the odd
everyone
one
else
out.
is like chaotic evil, I
Yeah,
want to destroy everything. So that's why they have the wall. I don't
yeah.
really
So
agree with it, but
at least let him across.
yeah.
But
So
we'll see.
those were those questions. And then our next question, which Every time I look at it, it's not even a question, but this comes
Oh,
from the divine of asteroids. If you know, you know. Um, but she asked bears.
just
Her
just
question
that.
was simply bears, and we haven't ever gone. Well, we have a werebear, right? In that Thresh audio series.
I would like to meet the werebear.
Yes, if we ever, I promise you, if we ever get a series with the werebear, in addition to Theo and Hammond, I'll make a whole audio podcast episode just about the Bear Boys. I promise if that ever happens.
We'll have to have the divine of asteroids on as a
Mhm.
guest.
It will just be bear talk. That's it.
Hmm. It'll
Um
end up just literally being about Hammond.
yeah, it
Like,
will.
where is
She'll
he?
have a diagram as to like 10 reasons why you should love him and why he should still be alive.
It turns into a petition for Siren or
Yeah.
a
Keep him safe.
presentation. Hmm.
So yeah, that was that was one of the other questions.
Just bears.
Just bears, It's a very
Are
poignant
they
question,
real? Maybe.
maybe.
We gotta figure it
Um,
out.
and then we had another question which was asked by in a way, it was asked by two people, Random Girl, 98, and Christy, who was on our last episode. It was the last one, right? Yeah.
I think so.
Um, So they both essentially asked about Governess Tylock and will she get involved? Because we heard her name in Aster's series, that's where she was first mentioned, and we know that she is the mom of Tylock, who is now presumed dead. So the question is like, what's gonna happen with her? A lot of us have theories about her being like the next big villain of the series, at least within Grestinfell. Like she could be the Cersei of Grestinfell potentially.
Yeah. Especially, I think there is a book, right, like a GA in Greska. I'm pretty sure, right? Or
Is
like
there
I feel maybe I'm just reading
there's
into
a whole
something.
library. There should be one in
Yeah,
there.
like the Library of Alexandria. There's something there.
Mhm.
You
But
know,
yeah, we know that she is what do we know about Governess Tylock? Let me look in my
nothing.
notes. Because we know some stuff. Yes, we know some stuff from the Discord. Because Siren has like we've asked plenty of questions. And so Siren's basically said that Governess Tylock is one of the leaders of Greska, and Greska's kind of like the capital essentially of Grestinfell. And instead of like other locations, which are like mostly like monarchies, like Duodon, and Zereno, which are like they're run as monarchies, but Greska is run more as a democratic type town city. Um, and so she has limited power because she's not like the sole ruler. She's only like one of many leaders within Greska. Um, but I think that probably was a connecting point for like Tylock. If Tylock took over so much land, and then, Governess Tylock was like, hey, we could join forces because I also have some control within Greska. I feel like that was probably the point of it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I feel like, and I think many of us feel like she was probably the one who was actually pulling the strings and giving
yeah.
Tylock a reason as to why he's doing it. Like probably because like, oh, mommy told me to take over the world, so I'm going to.
My mommy thinks I'm special. That's
Yeah.
literally his entire energy. But also, like, I think we when he first came out as a character, right? Something about what he was saying, right, was very. I don't know if it was just like reading too deep into it, but it felt very not like rehearsed, but like recited. Like, oh, this is something he just kind of felt, or like he like this is something like had been said to him, so he's kind of saying it to the listener. You never like you always wonder like what is your motivation, right? Like
Yeah,
why
he
are you
doesn't
doing it?
seem
And
to
the recite,
have
yeah,
one.
it kind of feels like it's something that he's kind of been taught.
Mhm.
But just like that was like the whole vibe like we got for some reason. Maybe we were
Yeah.
off. but it feels like, oh, very much if his mom is trying to pull strings in Greska, right? If she
Mhm.
has this of her, I was supposed to say husband, no, her son, ugh, her son, right, who has conquered what the Northwest entirely, right?
Mhm.
That might help do something in Greska, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
we don't want to cooperate. We have an entire force, so
Yeah.
it might just want to give us the power, but
Exactly. Like, it kinda just feels like she's the one who's actually, like, running
yeah,
everything, and
even though we
Tylok
haven't
was
met her
kind of just a pawn in it all, essentially, which is really sad because that was her son,
yeah.
um,
Even though he's
who's
not really on, like, if she wants him, like, maybe I don't know how they feel about, like, women, being leaders and stuff, right? But, like,
yeah.
if she felt like, oh, her son could get the job done, like, and she can get it done through her son, right? It's also
Yeah.
maybe it's also just a youth thing. He's young. Maybe she's not so
Mhm.
young. I don't know. Whatever the motivation was, maybe, she was trying to get things done through him, right? Or, like, achieve her own goals through him. And now
Yeah.
that he's gone, what is she gonna do? Because also her kid is dead.
Yeah.
So that's gonna, you know, we know how, like, if you look at other Siren characters and how they react to their kids dying, that never ends well. Look at Cersei.
Never doesn't end well, yeah. Yeah, that's a prime example.
It's not gonna end well.
So, it's kind of like, okay, so if she is ending up to be, like, the actual bad guy of this whole thing, like, what's the next move? My guess is because the orcs were the ones who basically, you know, ambushed the wedding and were like kicked him off a cliff. I feel like now that Garrak wants to make a town and be all wholesome, I feel like Governess Tylok is gonna be like, I'm going to have you all destroyed.
Mhm. Just
You know what I
ruin the
mean?
reputation of orcs forever.
Yeah.
Oh, cries. Don't do it.
I know. But I feel like that could be really interesting. I'd just love to see another like female bad guy, honestly.
Give us more lady villains.
We love lady villains. They're the
We do.
best, honestly.
They're competent and actually
Yes.
really scary and just great.
They get stuff done.
Yeah. It's, the circle's literally running in circles right now.
Yeah. I wonder,
I'm
is the
kidding.
circle
It's
only run by
scary.
men? That's my question. Because if so,
The
it all
the
makes
two
sense
people in
now.
charge are men.
That's true.
I'm not trying to say anything,
Not say
but
anything, but
you know, just side eyeing
uh,
them in their action. And the divines, they're a whole
uh,
mess.
yep. So I'm just,
Casually
using
said C,
context clues to the fact that so far men in power have not been doing great.
just writes out. Men are incompetent. I'm kidding. I don't mean that in the slightest.
This is all for
This,
humorous purposes, okay?
yeah, we do not hate men.
No.
Sorry, Siren.
Siren, you're great. You're doing great.
We're blaming COVID for this. This is the COVID
Yes.
talking.
Yeah, it's not actually us.
You know, we would never have these opinions.
What? No.
What? Oh.
So those were all of the questions that came
Mhm.
from fellow gremlins. So now we're going to move on to our own theories and questions that we have, topics that we kind of wanted to talk about. So first thing we have on the list is going into Benny. And so the first thing that like I have questions about is what is up with the displacer beast? I know it hasn't been talked about a lot in the like most recent audios, but
Mhm.
like what is up with it? Why is it suddenly tracking them? If it has a marking on it, someone put the mark there. So it's not that the displacer beast is the bad guy, but like someone who owns the displacer beast is a bad guy?
Or at
Question
least like
mark?
had it long enough to put a mark on it.
Yeah. And like
Yeah.
why are
I
they
don't.
doing it?
Yeah. What's the purpose? What was the
Mhm.
reason? Um, if I don't, we talked about this a little earlier, but it feels very like the timing with Lucky being there and
Yeah.
all that. It's very fishy.
And it
So
kind of showed
maybe,
up like after Lucky had just, popped
yeah.
up. So
Mhm.
like, I don't know if it could be, like, that person who tossed Lucky into the Badlands and just wanted to make sure Lucky was no longer there, and so
I mean, it's
they
not
got
like
a
they're already
piece of
there.
beast.
They can't really defend themselves from the Badlands.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So yeah,
but
I don't know. It's if you guys have any theories as to what the displacer piece is all about, why did it suddenly show up? Please let us know in the comments because I honestly can't really think of anything, but it's just one of those questions that like, Christy, that's definitely like in Christy's list of like things. It's like, what does it mean? But
I
yeah.
want the Displacer Beast to become Lucky's pet.
Oh God, please, can we?
It's like like Quinn and Moorhound
hmm
and the Hellhound.
Oh my God.
All he
Ah,
wants are some treats. That thing literally murdered people.
but
All
he
he
just
needs is
wants waffle
affection.
fries. Oh.
Oh,
But yeah, so many questions about that. Um, Also with Benny, it's like the book. So
which
okay,
one
so
again?
there are several books with Benny's series. One, we hear about the Watcher's Game, which we know is a book by Archie, because we heard about it when Keon had it in like in the Duke series, like that first
Yeah,
episode. So we know that book's like it's by Archie. Like, come on, who else is
like
gonna write that book?
literally describing West Haven.
Yeah. And the whole circle deal. So, it's like, yeah, no duh, it's by Archie. And then Benny has the book, Curses and Courtiers, which basically is a Beauty and the Beast version of what's happening with Benny. And it's so weird that, like, he mentions that the listener looks and acts like the main character, like, that goes with the ogre in the story. So I was thinking, like, could Archie have written that book for him, about him, about Benny.
Like weird Inception. I haven't seen Inception, but that feels like something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, on the money. Um, but yeah,
Um,
that's
you know what I
messes with
mean?
your brain
Like,
a little
it
bit.
just seems, like, so on point to for the fact that Benny has a book that's literally about ogres, and Onis are basically ogres as well, kind of like they're used synonymously in terms of, like, words when people talk about them. So I'm
Hmm.
just like, "That's very interesting that you have a book that's literally very similar to your current situation." Hmm, hmm.
Yeah, interesting.
Very interesting. So I'm like, who could have put that book there? It's like, and he's like, oh yeah, books randomly appear sometimes, and like, and I'm
That
just like, what do
doesn't.
you mean they appear? And I'm like, okay, the
That's
only
normal
person
for
throwing
you. You
books,
don't question that.
the only person throwing books around is Archie. We know this. Literally, Siren has said that he just chucks GEAs into the void until it gets somewhere. So
Believe
he probably throws his other books out there too. Um, and then the last kind of like terrible theory thing we had, and this was said not just by me, but several people, because it was like, oh, who's like the scorned suitor of,
who would be that petty?
Lucky? And we were all thinking, like, you know what? It sounds like something Tylock would do.
Cause he's petty.
Like, it just makes sense. Okay, like, it probably isn't Tylock, but just
Does he have
imagine.
like? Is he? Does he like influence out that far?
Yeah,
But
But it's just the
hey,
same kind of attitude Tylock has, you know? You don't do what I want, okay, then you die. But oh my god, it
well,
just sounds like a Tylock kind of move, you know?
it's his cousin.
It's his cousin. It totally, oh my god, could
The
you imagine?
entire Telek family is just a bunch of bad apples.
Yeah, and they're just messing things up for everyone. Yeah. But on the subject of Tylock, like we had said earlier, is he actually dead? He was thrown off a cliff, okay, that usually means someone's dead.
Yeah,
But no
the
body,
body.
no murder.
Mm-mm.
So
All
I'm
we
not
know, he's
hoping.
out there half crushed,
I
just
I want I
dragging
want
himself by one hand.
it I want it to be clear. I do not want him to be alive.
No one wants him alive.
I'm just being a gremlin and saying he might not be completely dead.
He's
I'm
just
just
like
saying.
crawls his way to his mom and he's like, "Mom,
My legs are broken.
they left me again for their green boyfriend."
Oh my god.
I hope he's
Yeah.
actually dead.
I
No,
know.
that kind of just fuels not even like just for because he's a creep, but like also like it fuels his mom
Yeah,
or
because
like
then she'll have
if
like
he's
a bigger
yeah,
motivation.
or if he's brought back, it's like a weird monster version of himself.
Yeah,
That'd
you
be
know?
cool. And then
Yeah.
Thresh actually has to fight like a vampire Tylock.
Oh gosh, no,
Mm,
nobody needs that.
nope, not putting that out there.
Mm-mm. Everyone, put your pencils down. This is not fan fiction time, okay? You throw that idea out of your head, okay?
It'd be funny if like also I don't know. I feel like people have said this, but I don't know if anyone actually wants Tylock to be redeemed. Mm-mm, not for
Some
me.
people,
But yeah, some people
some
have. I
people
brought it up,
kind of
right?
want it, but I'm it's hard for me to want him to be redeemed because he's been
Yeah.
so terrible. And
Mm,
just he's gross.
he's-
And like I want to applaud Siren for being able to make a character that unlikable. He's like the Gaston of like he's not even like
He looks
he's
good
just
too. Ooh,
bad, you know? Nobody
yeah.
wants him. And
He's
that's
like
what makes him a good villain in a sense. Like there are two types of good villains. There's the good villain with a good motivation, and then there's the villain that you just hate. Like you just can't put a word on it. You just hate them
mhm.
because they're just that terrible.
People are gonna like hear this, like that know us, and be like, "You like Rex, and you can't like, and you don't like this guy.
Oh my god. I
He's
literally,
different."
it's very different. Literally, Siren had a poll recently where he was asking, like, oh, would you want like a nice prince or would you want an evil prince? And I voted on
Evil,
an evil prince because
evil.
I was like, it'd be interesting to have an evil prince. Like a evil villain character, that
Like
we
the
actually
nomad guy.
like. And then people were like, oh, but you like Rex. And I'm like, that's different. He's
He's
not.
just, you know,
I'm not gonna go
we
on that
when
rant, but
when we do a full breakdown, people are still gonna be like that.
mhm,
But it is what it is. I mean, you
it
have to
is.
like, you can only say so much.
Yeah. You can only repeat yourself so many times, you know?
And people are allowed to, think what they want.
Yeah, But they'll learn someday. You've seen that first Rex audio, people, okay?
Yes, we so much has happened since the last podcast
So
episode.
many
We
things.
we finally got it. We
I
got our
know.
mans. He
And we were
sounded
both
so
I love how both you and I were, like, unable to watch it at the time that it had, like,
it was
premiered. It
terrible. I was
was
having like the worst day too.
I
And
was, like,
then
at the vet. Oh my god.
it was terrible. And then like, oh, people are like reacting and
Everyone's,
I
like,
think
adding us because
yeah,
they're
I was
like,
like
"These 2 people would wanna know," and we're
they're like,
like, "We're
shut up. We
busy."
can't right now. Don't make this harder. Oh, it was terrible. And then we were just like screaming to each other in DMs, like,
I
oh, it
know.
was everything we needed more.
Oh,
Oh, it was so great. Sorry.
I know
Little
this has nothing
tangent.
to do with
Yeah.
Grestinfell, but hey, it's our podcast. We could do what we want.
Yeah. You don't like it? Leave. Please don't.
But if you leave a like as well, and and share it with your friends. I can't even say that seriously.
You gotta do it like with the stereotypical YouTuber voice. Hey guys, don't
Smash
forget to
that
like and
like
subscribe.
button. Oh,
Yelling now. Okay, but yeah, uh, our little tangent on how much we love our boy. I
yeah,
mean, I feel like that's gonna happen every episode.
it
So,
will. We can't. There's always gonna be an opportunity to mention Rex, and we
mhm,
always will do it.
every time.
It's like an itch we gotta scratch. You can't avoid it.
Just part of our routine.
Yeah, this is what happens when you have two Rex muses hosting a podcast. Like, eventually
Hmm
he's gonna be mentioned.
There's just no avoiding it ever.
But yeah, so we talked about Tylock. He's dead. Got it. Cool. Um,
Hopefully, knock
hopefully.
on wood.
So the next question we have is, will we see more Cal, or better yet, Titus, maybe? So
I do.
we know that Titus is taken by Marius, right? But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean we can't get a series with them, right?
We still hang
Right?
out. Best buds. Cal and Titus.
Look, I
We
just
need
want to
that.
I want to be his bro. I like I just want more sassy tiefling, and I also want to learn more about tieflings. Like, I wonder, like, does he have tiefling friends? Does
I
he
doubt it. Is it
like?
just like the environment he's in?
I know, but like,
He's a
people,
secret underground group of
he's
tieflings.
so sassy already. Like, he doesn't care about what other people think about him. So like,
Oh, live your life, bro.
I just want to know more about like the tiefling situation within
Yeah.
Grestinfell. There's probably like some stuff in D&D that could teach me about like what it's like, but I want to know in story.
Learning things? Not me.
Not me. Literally, Christy was like, "Oh, you should talk to Val. And you
Oh,
should
y'all don't know
ask
who
like
Val is.
you you know, if you don't know who Val is, who are you?"
Too bad,
Links
you're
in the
not gonna know
description
now.
below. Shout out to Val. I'll have their links and Twitter in the description. Follow them. They're great. Artist. Also VA now. So
Probably people. You should go follow this person. You know nothing about them. Go follow them. It's fine.
but yeah, like
Uh,
Christy was like, "Oh yeah, you should ask Val about D&D stuff so we can like get some ideas as to like what's going on with Cal's listener and the tiefling stuff." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I should." And I never did because I was just like totally forgot. And I'm also like don't want to just randomly be like, "Hey Val, I don't talk to you, but can I ask you questions about D&D in terms of Greston?"
I'm sure they appreciate it. Or
you
I can
know.
ask, but I'm afraid to DM
Right?
people.
We're so awkward. We can't do that. That was kind of like our questions. Like, are we gonna see more Titus? Are we gonna see Cal? Because Cal's now becoming a prince, basically. Um, or a king? Is he
Isn't
basically a
no?
king?
There's already a king, but there's
So
like
he's
he's
gonna be
gonna
a
be like a
prince.
lord or something, right? Or like a
I don't
prince,
know. He's a
something
royal,
noble.
nonetheless.
Yeah,
So
he fits now. He checks all the boxes.
yeah. So now he can be with the listener. So that means we need to get a wedding, Siren. We've already had one wedding with Thresh. We could use another one. Come on, please. But yeah, so I just really would like to see Cal come back, and if we could get something with Titus, he's just a really fun. I like the sassy characters. I can't help it.
Me
When they're
too.
sassy and confident, but like it's for like legit. Because there are some characters, right, who act confident and full of themselves, and it's just not.
It's not
It's
cute.
not fun. It's not cute.
Yeah,
Like Ren. Ren tried to be all like, "Oh, I'm almighty and perfect," and then we're
I
like, "No,
thought
you're
you were about to say
not.
I'm All Might.
I'm
What?
all might. I am all might. I am here." Ah. News update: MD has just watched My Hero, so.
I'm almost caught up like fully, which I'm really sad. I'm putting off watching the last episode.
But yeah, so we'd like to learn more, okay? We want more
Hmm.
Grestinfell lore. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
but not more
Um,
Ren lore. No more
not
Ren.
not Ren. We don't need more Ren, but Titus, come on. We need another sassy character. We've got the sassy, chorus in Altera. So now we need sassy Titus in Grestinfell. It just makes sense, okay? We need our sassy smart dudes.
You like sassy smart. I like angry, grumpy, fiery boys.
Angry Fire Boys.
Angry fire boys.
Okay, back to theories. This podcast episode is us recovering and just being able to
We
talk,
told you
okay?
we're sick. We
I
told you.
promise the next time we do
Don't make
like a
promises you
legit
can't keep.
episode, it will be like real lore and
Don't make promises you can't keep, PG. You don't
it will
know.
it will be. It will. Maybe.
Maybe. We'll
Maybe.
put a maybe.
Yeah. I'll pin that in my head as a maybe. Um but
But yeah,
then
tieflings.
tieflings. We want more.
Mhm.
Um and then also Blythe. we've only got one audio. It wasn't that long ago, so I get it. We can wait, but I just want more. No, but seriously, Blythe is just like he gave us so much lore about Duodon, how it was separated into like 3 sectors, and I want to know more about like, you know, the higher society of Duodon. Like I want to meet his mom and slap her in the face. How dare you leave this precious child?
I thought you meant just meet her and learn like what the whole family dynamic. No, I want to fight her.
I want to
We
deck
just
her.
went straight to the
No.
violence. I mean, I get it though.
No, I would like to know more. And then
And
slap
then
her.
hit her in the face. Yeah, yeah. Gotta get that lore first.
Yeah, priorities. No, but seriously, like I actually would like to know more about like elven people and high elves and whatnot within Grestinfell
Maybe she
because
had
I
to
just
leave
feel
him.
like maybe it wasn't her choice. I don't know. I don't know. It's made to seem like that because we only heard it from Blythe's perspective, right?
Maybe Blythe doesn't know the truth. Maybe
Maybe.
there was a
Maybe there's
reason.
more to the story. Hmm?
Maybe is it wishful thinking? A little bit, but
Maybe.
we're allowed to have it. We're begging.
What even is this episode?
I don't know. I don't know. We're sick. We're
I'm
blaming it
gonna
on
have
being
so
sick.
fun editing this.
I know it's gonna be great. This is what you use during the blooper reel. All of just
Mm,
the craziness.
the blooper reel's gonna be like longer than the main episode.
It's gonna be like 4 hours long of just us
Oh,
being really stupid and laughing at each other.
would
It'd
you
be really
guys
great.
like that? Would you like a blooper reel? I could make it
Of us
happen.
being stupid and not knowing how to say words.
Yeah.
It'd be really great.
It's gonna be like 10 minutes of like not being able to speak English and then like 3 hours of like really bad jokes.
Mixing up Gregs and Graves. Gregors and Graves.
See?
Oh,
We can't even say it right when we want to try.
darn it. Doing so well today too.
Gosh.
But yeah, I think I think now that's it.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. Well, I
Covered
hope
everything.
we covered everything, I hope, you know? I hope that was good. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope
Mhm.
that was comprehend I can't even English.
Comprehend.
I hope it made sense. At least a little bit, okay?
If it didn't, we're sorry, but you know,
We tried.
we don't know. We did our
This is our
best.
this is like our first time back, after like a break, so
Yeah, we had to take a little time off just with school and everything.
so
But
you know. But that I think that wraps up today's episode of
mhm.
the Lore Gremlin podcast.
Is this
Thank you.
actually shorter than everything we've done so far?
It might be.
Oh my
Who knew? All we
goodness.
had to do was get sick to make an episode shorter.
Oh,
Oh. But
oh my gosh.
thank you guys for taking the time out of your day
Mhm.
to listen to the ramblings, truly our ramblings of wacky
Mhm.
gremlins. Once again, check for links in the description below for Siren's channel, his Discord, any key audios. We'll probably just link playlists because we essentially went through several characters.
Yeah.
So playlist for those characters. Anybody else we happen to have mentioned in this, we'll link them in the description as well. And stay tuned for the next episode where we talk about God knows what. But either way, hope you enjoy. Like and subscribe, all that jazz. And thanks again for listening.